Okay, welcome to High Pressure Podcast. John, it's an honor to have you here.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode today with our really honored and special guest that flew in directly from New York City, the mobster with Albanian heritage, John Alite.
Welcome, John.
Hey, thanks.
We're happy to have you here.
Nice to be here with you.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah. Oh, I have so many questions for you, John. I've been so excited for this podcast. I've called Harry so many times because you were growing up in a period of time which people like me and Harry and friends of ours we only have seen on television.
Yes.
And that's incredible to have you here and to
hear the stories firsthand.
Exactly. So welcome to the High Pressure Podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I'm gonna start out, John. So there's a question: How come that you went so long to prison? When did you ever get caught with on a crime scene or with a weapon or
With a gun.
Exactly.
In action. Have you ever been caught like that? In flagranti?
No, you know what's funny is, something about social media and newspapers and magazines and journalists that don't really understand this life or don't know what happened. No, I never got caught with anything, not on a videotape or an audio tape or a bullet. I got caught only by guys from the Italian Mafia, members and associates, all giving me up, snitching on me, while I was sitting in a penitentiary in Brazil with who you guys are very familiar with, Klaus from Denmark. And, yes. we were worldly known and we were all over the news. And
Big hello to Klaus, by the way. Hey, Klaus. Is he there?
Yeah, he's sick of me at this point. We're friends for a long time. But, people don't understand that, guys like all of us, like you guys, we all have mutual friends from around the world.
Exactly.
From each country, we can touch people in a certain way, in any way we really want to, by the friendships that we have put together over the years.
Yes.
Yeah, through the years. And it doesn't matter what country, we know each other. In that small world, it's not like Italian Mafia in Europe. It's a big difference, and people really don't know that.
So it's a big difference from the Italian Mafia in Europe to the one in the States?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Completely run different. The American Italian Mafia, in my opinion, there's some tough guys naturally. Yeah. There's always tough guys in every,
in every group.
With every group, every nationality. But overall, it's a weak organization. And especially over the years, it became weaker.
We talked about that. I think the last very strong era for Mafia was ended a little bit with John Gotti Senior.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. And now, people ask me this question a lot. I'm Albanian. We're born with a lot of pride, and we're very emotional. We're we open our hearts to everybody, but we're also very dangerous. So, when people ask me, they've asked me this question. The Albanian Mafia and the guys from the street are not just talkers, they're dangerous. And they control almost every country that you can go to. We have friends. So I have a huge network of people just like I do here in Germany or Switzerland or UK. I just don't live that life anymore. I'm friends with everybody. We go to dinner, we'll have a drink. I have the ability to be in that life if I wanted to be still. I just don't want no part of that life.
Well, we talked about that also. You're helping the youth now also to get a little bit on the right path, directing them.
Well, I look at life and I talk about what I did for a living and what some of my friends have done for a living. And if you're a hustler with drugs or with sports or anything, if you have the ability to hustle in something illegal, you have the ability to hustle in something legal. So I try to influence these kids. Exactly. Don't end up dead in the street like most of my friends. Don't end up...
Or lifetime in prison.
Lifetime in prison. We've all put in our time in prisons, and serious time. And guys that know us from international prisons to prisons in the States where I was, there's no faking it. Yeah. These guys everybody knows each other. So we know who's real, who isn't. And, you have a lot of these internet Rambos that... we all
They're all over the place.
Yeah, they're all over the place until they walk into a room full of some of us that or some guys that are still active that are friends of mine, and then they won't talk like that. They know that, I'm not doing what I used to do. So, you're going to get some of them. You don't get a lot, but you get enough dummies that, talk nonsense. If they were about that, they wouldn't be on there doing that.
Exactly. Then there will always be types like that.
Then they recognize.
Exactly.
So for our audience and for our viewers, just for the understanding, how many years did you serve in prison, John?
I served about 18 and a half years in prison.
18 and a half years. Yeah. And how come, if you have never got caught with a gun or committing a crime, committing a murder, committing some violent crime, how come that you served this big amount of time?
Because unlike what most people understand about the Italian mafia, their rules they don't live by. They're giving information, they're cooperating. I run through the names of bosses like Lucky Luciano. It's a very famous name that people know, not in my era, but he was a rat.
Well-known gangster. Yeah.
Well-known rat too. Yeah. As a kid, his excuse was, "Well, I was a kid when I got caught with drugs," and this is ridiculous excuses. Or the excuse of Albert Anastasia giving up his best friend to Murder Inc. And he's a rat. And he was, like John Gotti Senior loved him and looked up to him as a hero to him as growing up as a mobster. But this guy actually was a rat. He brought his best friend into the FBI to give him a death sentence because there was pressure on the Italian mafia at the time.
So in the end, there was no honor in that?
Well, they don't have no real honor. That's the thing. You have guys like, people know Sammy Gravano. I talked about him. I try to help him. And, I lent him $3,000. And by the way, he never paid me back the $3,000. People keep asking me about
Sammy,
that.
don't forget to pay that money back, Sammy.
I'm going to keep that actually, I'm going to make sure, because people keep writing me about that. Did he ever pay you back the $3,000? And no, he never did. So this is the type of guys they are. Even for pennies, $3,000.
Ridiculous.
Ridiculous. He's got no character. So, but you got guys like him, and I want people to check the paperwork. Yeah. This is a guy who claims he's a gangster, but he hides in another state. He doesn't live in New York like me. He lives in another state, and he hides. But if you're going to play that role as a gangster and you're going to tell people you're involved in 3 wars and you're a killer, and you shot a gun once, I believe, in a murder, and 2 times he used a gun in his whole life. Now, I've challenged him. We can bring him on your show here. But, again, he won't come. These guys won't travel all over Europe like me. They're not... They live in their little neighborhoods, and then they hide. And without, having men, they hide. That's over for them. They're not able to stand on their own 2 feet. They'll never make it in a Brazilian penitentiary like me and Klaus and guys like us. So there's a difference that people really don't understand. And they don't live by their rules.
So, John, I have an important question. I think a lot of the viewers also. So when I Googled your name, it also stated there that you cooperated with the FBI. Can you tell your version of that story?
Yeah, you basically just told it for me. I never got caught.
Yeah.
So these guys that are meeting with the government, like the Gotti's son, when I was in a penitentiary with Klaus, he's sitting down with the FBI making excuses while he's sitting down with them. He's bringing the FBI to go see his father in 1998 to say what? What is the FBI doing with you? You're only there because you're cooperating. You wouldn't be bringing them with you.
Yeah, exactly.
So when they say it's okay for them to give me up, or you got guys saying if they're not nice to me, mob guys, that
so Gotti Junior gave you up.
Well, there's no surprise in it. He was all over the headlines of the newspapers that he was a rat.
He read about everybody, no?
Yeah, well, I was sitting in a penitentiary, and he's ratting. Yeah. But it wasn't just him. So, I don't want to just put it on him. He was just one of a lot of them. The boss of the Bonanno family, Joe Messina, was wearing a wire. 12 of his captains cooperated. John Gotti's captains were all ratting on me. So they were all ratting on me. So, when people ask me, what'd you do? Did I talk? 5 years later, I says, after they all fucked me, put me in prisons, I was facing death penalties.
You didn't have no loyalty to them anymore.
I owe them nothing.
Yeah, for sure.
And if anybody's stupid enough to say they owe them, I'm going to tell you, if you got a wife that's sleeping with 7 guys, you ain't going to be loyal to her. I don't think you're going to stay married to her. So it's the same thing here. These guys betrayed me, put me in a penitentiary while I was protecting them. And then
they ratted out on you.
And they ratted me out, all of them, one after another. And again, I never got caught. So, if I'm holding the oath to their life, I'm Albanian. I'm not Italian, and I'm respecting their laws, and they don't respect their own laws. I don't care who says anything about me, unless they were in my shoes, and unless you were the guy that I was, because I was the guy doing the shooting. I wasn't Sammy Gravano telling everybody I was a shooter. I was a shooter. I actually did. So when people say to me, oh, this guy's exaggerating, or this guy's lying, or this, the information you guys know, and guys that know me from penitentiaries and guys that know me from out of countries and in jails, we all know what's accurate, what's truthful, because you guys all know me. You know personal friends that know me, from jails, from the street, from organizations outside of the Italian Mafia, which I have a lot of alliances with.
I'm also say if there was any like very heavy meat on that story, then you could also not be living in New York. You're still living in New York, yeah?
I live in New York.
Yeah,
I live in Jersey. Everybody knows I travel in every country. I had friends in every organization around the world, from the cartel to Africa to I have a lot of black friends, and I respect men as men. Iranian friends, guys that are with me today, guys that see me. I'm traveling all over, and I have an army of friends that are around with me constantly from country to country, not just this country. But I have a respect level because the way I carried myself as a gentleman with people, not just talking about being a tough guy, but just being an honest, straightforward guy without any bullshit. So when you have the Italian Mafia and they're betraying every law they have, they're not allowed to allocute to a position in the mob. They do that now. You're not allowed to allocute to the existence of the mob. They do that. They're not allowed to be involved in a lot of aspects of drug business, and they do that. Every aspect and every law of theirs, they betray. Me, I'm Albanian. I don't betray my code of being Albanian and fellow Albanians. I respect our blood, and and I look at our guys. When I see guys on the street, whether they're in the street life, not in the street life, I respect them. What I choose to do in my life now is a different thing. I choose to help kids now, and hope I save some lives and put them in another direction. As men, everybody can choose their own destiny, and
Exactly.
I respect what they do. Whatever they do is their business. I respect them. It's none of my business what they do. Me trying to help kids is a different thing.
So that's one of the key points why you are warning the youth, right? So because it's not like what it seems in the mafia or in the gangs or in the organizations. It's not like the omerta is still being protected. It's like everybody ratting on everybody, right?
It's all I've named some bosses for you, but I can name Scarpa was ratting. Leonetti in Philadelphia, the boss, was ratting. I'm talking about the bosses now, not even the associates and the underlings. They're all ratting. They're all betraying each other.
It's crazy.
These guys. While I'm in prison, you have guys that were trying to go out with my ex-wife and going out with my ex-wife. There is no loyalty. These guys are full of shit. Yeah. This is about. If they can steal a dollar bill off you, they'll pickpocket you when you're turning the other way. But, this is what they do.
What about the video from Gotti Senior's wife calling you a serial killer?
I got to laugh because they're not sure which way they want to call me. So Gotti Senior's wife did an interview, and she said that I was a low-life serial killer and vicious, and her and her family wrote letters to my judge asking me to be violated since I'm home, and that they were going to sue the government if I killed Junior. So these are factual things people get. Peter Lance was the guy that wrote the pamphlet to my judge and tried to advocate for me to go back to jail. And his best friend, he had a kid that wrote
So crazy. So Gotti's wife tried to get you back to prison.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's
and
again,
when was that?
It's on YouTube now. She's talking about me being a serial killer.
Wow.
So, these are things that I look at. I says, I got to ignore it. People ask me, what do I think of all this? I can't answer all these. I can't answer these Rambo people. No. I can't answer things like she did. I can't answer the guy that wrote the FBI and the police.
Then you cannot do anything else.
You guys read the letter about a cold case, a murder about 6 years ago. They sent a letter in against me to try to get me locked up for another murder. I mean, this is what's going to go on. I can't stop this. The only thing I do now is I live a positive life with kids. I do a lot of work with kids, organizations.
Yeah, that's great.
Veterans that are homeless, I talk to. I do shows with veterans.
Respect from that. I think I speak for Harry also. Deep respect for that, because for where you came from, I saw in other shows that you also talk. Almost all your friends, childhood friends, are dead today. They are all being killed.
I talk about exactly that. I name them like crazy. You guys know I'm very specific because you know a lot about me, right? So guys that know a lot about me know that I'm very specific about the things that I was involved in, my friends that were killed, my cousins that were killed, and the life that I lived. And me myself was put in a hospital on, I don't know, 7, 8 occasions where guys tried to kill me. So, that was part of my old life. But I don't run from it. I tell everybody the same thing. I live in my neighborhood. I respect who I have to respect. When people disrespect me, I'll handle it the way it comes. If they disrespect my family, then I guess that's to another level. And we all have families, and I've said that a lot of times now. If anybody's stupid enough to allow anything or threats to my family, it's not a threat, but I'm not going to look for underlings. I'll go see the bosses.
Did I get it right that you served time in prison in the United States and also in Brazil? Is that right?
Yeah, Brazil, I was an international fugitive. Interpol caught me. And I was in one of the worst prisons with my friend Klaus.
Klaus told me about that. He told me it was horrible.
Horrible.
Could you maybe sketch out a little bit the difference between a United States jail and Brazil jail?
Well, in the United States jail, you get a bunk. You get a mattress of some sort. Even though it's not a fancy mattress, you get a mattress with a pillow. You get to eat. In Brazil, we're sub-below. It's raining inside. There's rats that are gigantic. There's 60 guys in a 12-man cell.
Oh, my God.
There's shit and bugs that are dead in your rice and beans every day.
Oh, my God.
There's murders inside the jail. There's hangings. There's heads being chopped off.
How many years did you serve there?
3 years. And we're getting beatings by, guards.
Yeah, Klaus told me about that, that you had to fight with the guards.
Yeah, we did. There's a very, we did a 4-part series called The Viking, The Downfall of a Drug Lord. It's about Klaus's life story.
Yeah.
And
I know about that one,
And we had a lot of fun with it.
I haven't seen it,
but the fun part was making it, really.
Yeah.
And the fun part is that, we're like brothers in the closeness.
Yeah.
But the part that people don't see is really all those years that we suffered in a different... It's a completely different way. I think
no people can imagine, even if they play hard, nobody can imagine. We talked about that earlier. I also did 7 years in prison, and I think that's a big, like a luxury hotel in compared to Brazil, yes.
Yeah,
so nobody can speak about that if they didn't try it. So
I mean, you shit in the floor. I don't, just that alone. We shower out of a spigot, not out of a shower.
No.
You don't have any lights in the prison. There's a little bulb light that goes out because the power grids are terrible there. Third world country with, the buildings decrepitated. And we got guys that we would hide smuggled phones, so we talk to our family and our attorneys to try to beat our case because they don't give you access to try to fight your case. And we got guys sticking their hand in the shitter to try to get, where we hide our phones during these shakedowns. So there's a lot of things that go on about survival in those jails that we tried escapes. We tried different things so we wouldn't get killed in that. So, we put down, and it's not just being tough. You got to be intelligent. And I've talked about
you have to have a strong mindset. And it's very important, maybe the most important thing.
And one of the things, I hate to say this because he's never going to let me live it down, but Klaus is very smart. So, the intelligence of it, he was very smart. We maneuvered a lot. We manipulated. He did a lot of that manipulating. Really, I was very physical.
You were like the muscle.
Yeah.
You were like the muscle, John.
The rough guy.
That came all the box training for the
he doesn't like me to say that he was dangerous at one point, but we all know. So during the movie, he kept saying, "Listen, don't say that part, don't say this part." But we got to laugh. He was worried about his children seeing that part.
So you were able to get a good position, strong position in the jail in Brazil.
Yeah, we had a very strong position in the jail. We put a team of guys together, and that's
like how big was the team like?
We had a good 7 or 8 of us that worked together.
And they were all like
financially, we had money, and we moved around. And we manipulated guards inside the jail, military police outside the jail, and then we had the outsides of Commander Vermelho, which is a very large organization gang in the country that we work with those bosses. Our money helped them to help us maneuver on the outside, inside, and some of the daily plans of escaping, and different things that we would try to do and survive.
to get a better day.
And we had weapons. Inside it's not like the American jails. You don't have guns and you don't have machetes, and where we were, we had to have those constantly at our hands.
So
now comes a very important question, John. I don't know if you can answer this. Also, was it possible to get any Brazilian women inside the jail?
I won't say it out loud, but we had plenty.
Most important. So you
listen, half my money was gone.
So you and the team in the jail, probably they were all not Brazilian, right?
Women or
no, you and the guys, you and your team. They were all from United States or from Denmark.
You know what's funny, when guys are talking, the Rambos are typing away against us. We stay friends with everybody around the world. We had guys from Spain, Turkey, the UK, several guys from the UK. We're all very tight still. From Germany, we had one or two guys, different guys from everywhere, around
from
the
all
world.
over the world.
Yeah, we were very friendly, and they kind of relied on me and Klaus to keep them to survive, and they give us credit for that. They all talk about it. Guys from Africa, we were good to these guys, and financially too, a lot of them didn't have money that we took care of.
So, John, you as a New York mobster, how did you end up in Brazil in jail?
He was on the run, no?
It was a bad idea to go to Brazil.
Yeah, it sounds like that. New York is more comfortable.
I blame Klaus. We were looking at the pamphlets, and there was so many women and beautiful beaches. Seriously, that's why I did go there. I was in Cuba, I was in Africa, I was in Venezuela, I was all over.
Because you were on the run, or?
I was on the run.
Yeah, okay.
And Interpol was looking for me, and I was moving from country to country, about 20 countries.
Like, how long of a time? How long a period of time?
Close to a year and a half to 2 years. About, and then
that's a long time on the run.
Yeah,
it cost a lot of money also.
At that time, did you already have kids at that time?
Yeah, I had children at the time. It was,
hard.
Listen, that's the part that people don't understand. I sacrificed all my money, and I had millions, to protect the Italian mafia, not to betray my enemies in the Italian mafia. And I left my family and my kids and my money and my success.
You sacrificed so much for them, and
not
then you got that in return.
And when I sat there, they were all betraying me. So it's laughable when someone says that, or the internet says I'm a rat or a cooperator or a spy, or, it's one of the reasons I came out doing books and all these things is to give the true story of what happened.
You wanted to make it clear.
Yeah. And it's very clear. I never got caught with anything.
I think that's a very good thing that you're doing.
For sure.
Yeah, it also shows big balls. It also shows you're not afraid of no man.
Yeah.
I also saw in the interview you said, well, the women, she did it with disrespect. She said, would you consider yourself as a rat? And you said, hell no. Yeah. I can tell that to any gangster, anybody in the world.
Well, I don't know what idiot would, if me and you go rob a bank together, we go down together. That's what happens.
Nobody speaks.
But you don't go and these guys are making excuses why they're sitting with the government. They're making excuses why they're informants. They're making excuses why there is no excuse. I'm sitting in a penitentiary protecting yous, and yous are all sitting down saying, Johnny the Albanian is the killer. Johnny the Albanian is the shooter. Johnny's this. And then when I come home, they say, well, Johnny's nobody. He was a junkie, or he was this. But, you can't stop this. You got to remember something. I come from a country where Scandabeo was a hero. I have them all over my body. Any Albanian that's listening to this knows. And you have people that talk against this guy. How do you talk against him? There's Jesus Christ and the people that believe talk against him. So, of course, they're going to talk against me, too. You can't get everybody to like me, and I'm not trying to.
No.
I know I want the people that are my friends, and which they do know, the stories. People that were in prison know how I handle myself, and people know now the work I do with kids. And what I do now is the important part. Yeah. All the things I do with kids. I can't change what happened.
It's also the same what I always say. I say, I don't care if people don't like me. For me, it's the most important that my family and my close friends knows what I stand for.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing. There are other people I don't lie sleepless over at night. But my nearest friends, which I don't have many of, my family, my son, that's the most important thing.
Well, I try to stay humble. You see the Albanian community is very loyal to me.
Yeah.
And
I've seen that on your social media.
Yeah, also. And I have thousands of people that come around, and because I'm because of the movies, because of the books, magazines. I'm doing a magazine in September.
You just met up also with the minister, no?
Yeah. And we're in the middle of a project that Klaus is also obviously behind it strongly, with a director that did his movie and a movie about the Serbian-Kosovo War. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that go on a positive note, and we got different lives, and we stay that course, and the people that ask me, how do you stay humble? I stay humble because you're a human being like everybody else. We have our ups and downs, and it doesn't matter that they got me on a celebrity status now. Yeah. But that's not important to me. The important is to remember who we are as a people, as friends. And, you know, we could go to any country and the doors are open for a reason. And, you know, because of our history, because of our friendships, because of, you know, the people we know, and somebody makes a phone call for me and their friend opens the door because of the same reasons. So I look at things, you know, like Joel Osteen, he's a very famous Christian that's a speaker on television about religion. And he talks about the rear view mirror, it's in the past, and the windshields is 10 times bigger, 20 times bigger, because everything you're going to do is forward. So I look at things as moving forward in life. And, you know, I move forward in a
I think that's very good. John, can you tell to our audience, where did you grow up? When was the first time that you were meeting made guys? And also for me, especially with the first time you met John Gotti.
You know, growing up, I grew up as a baby. What my father was Lucky Luciano's cousin, was Blackie Luciano, Charlie Luciano's partner. They owned bars together, clubs together. My uncle owned a 3-card Monte game with them. So I grew up on the laps of these guys since I'm a baby. You don't just walk in the mob and everybody knows you. You know, you gotta. I've been there since I'm a kid through my father's associations. My father wasn't a gangster; he was just a street guy, gambler. So, you know, that's where it started. I stayed also for the Albanians, I stayed with a guy.
Actually, your dad didn't want, I saw that actually your dad didn't want you around the
understandable.
Yeah, of course.
Well, because my dad thought I could do what he did.
Yeah.
I could stay on the edge, be their friends, but not be involved. And he
That's
taught
difficult.
me to be he taught me to be very aggressive. He didn't mean it to end up like that. But I stayed with Sadat Lika. For the people that know who Lika is, he's doing a life sentence. He was a dangerous, and back in those days, there weren't a lot of Albanians in the United States because it was a closed-off country because of communism. So I stayed with his nephew, Sadat Lika, who was a tough kid, 5 years old. I didn't know who his uncle was. I knew who his father was. I knew Mussolini, his little brother. So we stayed together. We were probably the very few families that were Albanian then. So I was around some serious gangsters since I'm a kid. And unfortunately, in condolences, Sadat just died recently, a couple of years ago, back out, and he went back to Montenegro. But, you know, I talk about Big Albania. I talk about that. I talk about the culture, and going from Luciano and these guys that were friends with my father, I stayed with another guy who became the boss in our neighborhood, Andy Ruggiano. And his son Albert would box with me. We were in the gym, and Anthony was his older brother, and was very friendly with them. The father became our neighborhood boss. Then he went to jail. And then John Gotti took over. And so you slowly step into the shoes of each boss because you're around these guys. You don't just walk in, you know, but you hear a lot of people say, oh, this guy's Albanian. But one thing we all understand from around the world, whether you're Iranian, whether you're Kurdish, these are all friends of mine, whether you're German, the street respects certain things, money makers and fear if you're dangerous. And if you're any of those things, nobody cares what nationality you are.
Good point.
So, John, tell the first time that you met Gotti Senior.
I met Gotti Senior first time I was about, I guess, 18, 19 years old. And I later on get involved in the sports business. And Gotti Senior brings me to a guy, Willie Boy Johnson, who was an Indian.
That before the hit was done on Castellano, or was it also it was before?
Yeah, way before.
You also met Paul Castellano?
Yeah, Paul. I was at Paul's house a couple of times, and you know, you get guys who'll tell you weren't there. You know, again, you're gonna get these dummies that talk so stupid. But you know, when these guys were around, when I was around Willie Boy, who later on gets hit because they accuse him of being an informant. A prosecutor gave him up at the time, Diane Giacalone. But I was on a half sheet. And Willie Boy Johnson was partners with John Gotti Senior in the sports business. John brought me to him because I had the New York Mets were gambling with me at the time. Obviously, I couldn't afford to bankroll the New York Mets gambling habits. So I end up going, which is a 50% sheet. If they win, they lay out the money for me. And if they lose, we split the money 50-50. So I started working with John there. Okay. And then later on in the drug business, in a small level, I moved around through the prison system, actually. Rikers Island is one of the biggest prisons, county prisons in New York. I had some of the guards that were working. They would move heroin for me inside the prison, and then later on the coke business.
Did Gotti ever order you to do a hit or batter somebody, pipe somebody?
On a regular basis. And, you know, the thing is, so people around the world understand, when you have these Rambos questioning it, I wouldn't be sitting here today if Gotti didn't okay all the shootings and all the killings and all the baseball batting and all the drug movement I had in my neighborhood. He would have chopped me up and would have made sure I was dead if
he didn't know if he hadn't green-lighted it.
And I wouldn't be in his daughter's wedding party. I wouldn't be on those videos in front of his house. I wouldn't be at those videos at the Raven nightclub.
Tell the story, John, with the first time where he really noticed you. You know, where his brother came up to your house and they wanted you to come, and you. And was it your grandma or was it your mother said, there's somebody like in a big car outside, and my brother want to talk to you.
Yeah, see, you know, we had a
How old were you there?
Young, probably around 20 still at that time. So, you know, you're a young guy and you're learning the understanding of how the mob works. And, you know, most guys, when you're made guys, we had to be at the club on a regular basis. Me being Albanian, I'm not made, but I'm respected as a made man. And, you know, we'd have dinners at Saturday, and it was a table.
I just have a fast question. So I don't think everybody knows this, but as an Albanian, if you're not born Italian, is it possible? It's not possible to be made a made man in the Italian mafia if you're not born Italian, correct?
Correct.
But the respect will still be there because you were the one who did all the beating, the shootings, also the murders, no?
Yes. So the thing people don't understand is it's no different than we go down the block here, and people say, well, they know it's me. They're going to respect me because of my past history of what I did. In jail, out of jail, the violence, and, you know, some of the things. So when guys say stupid things like this, again, they don't understand the structure of the mob. Jimmy Burke was Irish. Joe Watts was...
And nobody would question them. Nobody would question them just because they were Irish.
There's enough guys that talk, you know, that do some interviews, and they'll talk about nobody ever said anything to me. They were afraid, you know, they knew that I was very violent. And at that time, you know, I was very violent. So no one's going to question me. But, you know, on the Gotti level is he had a table full of made guys only that would eat on Saturday at our Bergen Club. And there was, obviously, there's hundreds of guys, but yet there was a chair for me at that table. So I would eat there every Saturday.
Then actually you're also a made man.
Yeah. So he gave me the authority of that. Yes. He gave me a crew of guys that answered to me. And, you know, when guys talk nonsense, I wouldn't be sitting here. I was a kid at the time. If he didn't like what I was doing, he would have had me killed. Yeah. So, you know, my orders came directly from him, whether it came through his brothers or through his son. My orders came through him.
So I think this question you overgot. Did you know about the Paul Castellano hit? It was like the biggest hit in the Mafia history, you know?
Oh, yeah, of course I knew about it. You know, and one of the reasons I had to know about it is after the hit, he wanted to make sure I was available with guns and guys because if there was retaliation from that hit, that we were ready. And he would tell me at the time, bring my guns to the club. But on a regular, you're not allowed to bring guns to the club.
But actually, almost everybody, like 90% of everybody wanted him dead, no? Paul, because he was more like a business guy. He didn't think about the guys on the street, no?
No, that's not true. There was two factions of the Gambino family. There's the young faction and there's the older faction. The older faction was the actual Gambino family. Older guys like Tommy Gambino and, you know, guys in those positions, Jimmy Brown, who's head of the carting business. These are the old timers. They were good with Paul. They were all making money to getting rich. Patsy Conti. These guys were all.
He was very intelligent, Paul. No, he was a good businessman.
Very well. He's a billionaire. Yeah, you know, so you know when John comes in, he's the young guy coming in, looking to make a move on the older faction of the Gambino family, who was very well aligned with the Genovese family, Lucchese family, because they're making money with him. So they don't want him dead.
So his like spawns are a good friend, you know, also from the movie who dies. You know where Paul died?
Neil Della Croce, you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
John asks Neil, for the people that don't know, Neil's dying. He's in the hospital. He's got cancer. Yeah. And here's the first time I know John's going to see Neil and trying to get permission to hit Paul. Yeah. Neil's refusing it. Yeah. John goes there 3 different times to get the approval. Neil says no. Finally, John says, we're going to hit him anyway. Neil's going to die anyway.
Yeah.
Because they respect. John loved Neil,
Yeah.
and he respected Neil as a true gangster, because he was a tough guy too. He didn't respect Paul's ways because Paul was a businessman. Although, for the people who don't understand something, Paul did more hits as a boss than John actually did.
Yeah, okay.
Ordered.
Yeah, ordered, yeah.
And you got guys, again, that don't know the history. And Sammy Gravano, at the time of this hit, is nothing. He's a made guy, but he's not a captain. He's not an underboss. So later on, he fit the shoes because Frankie DeChico gets blown up.
What?
Long story short, he wasn't John's guy. John didn't trust him much.
No, okay. But when was the first time that you met Sammy? They called him Sammy the Bull, no?
Sammy's name came from, the real name was Sammy the Bullshit Artist.
Some bullshit.
That's where his name came from. That's the true history.
Yeah,
He was a Colombo guy.
Okay.
And his friend...
But he was also Italian, no?
He was Italian.
Yes.
Louis Mileto was a good friend of his, and he was going to get killed by the Colombo family. They didn't trust him. Yeah. Louis brought him over to the Gambino family, saved his life. In turn...
Saved Sammy's life.
Saved Sammy's life. In turn, Sammy betrayed him and had him set up for money, over business, and had one of his friends kill him. So this is the mob. This is what really goes on. Not the loyalty. It's not the loyalty you'll see with me and Klaus. There's the loyalty of true friendship. Whether you're on the street, retired together, families together, there's true friendship. It's a difference. It's not about the dollar bill's not going to save the friendship.
Some of the best friends I have today also met in prison.
Yeah,
some of them. Yeah, good friendship can start there.
Yeah.
I've seen you had some beef going on with Sammy the Bull Gravano. What is he accusing you of? What is his problem with you, and how did all this happen?
He sells a story like most, that he was John's guy. He's not John's guy. He didn't set up the hit of Paul Castellano. John didn't even know him but for a couple of years. But when Frankie DeChico dies, Sammy's already stuck with the Gambino family on John's faction. He can't go back to the old faction because they'll kill him. So he has a no man's land, and John needs a Brooklyn guy. He happens to be a Brooklyn guy. John knows he can control Sammy fully, so he brings him in. But when Sammy sells the story that he's the one setting up the hit, that's a complete lie. John had his own guys, which I know all of them since we're kids. So those guys are the ones that set up that hit. Now, he could tell that story to the FBI and the world, and everybody else wants to buy it because they don't know any better. But I do know better. And the same with his... And you guys, I'd love to have him on a show with us because you can ask him step by step. Tell us who you shot. Tell us who you hit. Tell us what you did in robberies. What did you hit? Did you hit a?
But he's known for have killed so many people. I think over 100.
No, 19 murders. He talks about.
Okay.
But it's very easy. I give you an example because my mother can do it. Okay. I ask him. Harry, do me a favor. I want you to kill this guy. You say, okay, John, I'll kill him. You tell him, hey, can you kill this guy? So, Mads, you're the guy. Now you tell your guy, can you kill this guy? And he tells that guy, you kill it. That's a murder. That's what he did. That's what Sammy did. Mm-hmm. So it's very easy to say you did 19 murders. Well, then maybe I did 100.
Order and giving back.
This is the manipulation that I'm trying to tell kids. Mm-hmm. And so if we sat here and asked them, well, where were you when this murder happened? Where were you when this murder happened? Where were you when this robbery happened? Where were you? He can't answer this. That's why he won't sit with me. And, he likes to tell war stories. What kind of character? You don't even give back the 3,000 I gave you. Where's his character? And where's his
A real man always pays back his debts.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yes, that's very important.
But where's his balls? He's hiding in another country. You said you're Cosa Nostra to the end. I'm Albanian. I'm not Cosa Nostra to the end. I believe in Albanian rules. I believe in what we believe in Bessa, our rules of loyalty to each other. He doesn't believe in anything. He betrayed everybody in his life, including me now, trying to help the guy with a couple of bucks. So for nonsense, $3,000, it's not 300,000, it's 3,000. He should be ashamed of himself, embarrassed.
It doesn't matter the amount, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. John, so I have a question which I really want to ask you. How many people have you killed?
People ask that question, right? And people say different things. Yeah. And I tell them I had a problem with 4 guys. This is the best way I could say it. Yes. And, the 4 guys, I've mentioned their names plenty of times. Yeah. Johnny Gebbett, Georgie Grasso, Ricky Stratton, and Bruce Gotterup. There were 4 guys, brother-in-laws to each other.
Can you tell how you killed them? Or?
One of them, Georgie was everybody knows because he's been on a lot of shows. I shot him in the head a couple of times. Ricky Stratton, I shot.
What did he do to you?
They talked about killing me.
Oh, okay.
They talked about killing me. They betrayed our family, talking about the drug business when you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
So they were ordered to be killed. I just carried them out. Although I didn't like them, they were going to kill me, or they talked about killing me. Yeah. So I killed him. I ordered the death of Johnny Gebbett while I went to prison the first week. My cousin killed him. I killed Ricky Stratton on the Interborough Parkway. I shot him in the head in a drive-by next to him. Yeah. And Bruce got killed on a beach by another guy, a Latin guy, that we brought in. So I brought in. And then on top of, besides that, there was a lot of other murders and shootings. And, you don't, and I tell people, a lot of these guys, you're not sitting down and notching it. How many times you shot and killed guys, or did they live? Did they make it?
It was a part of the life.
Did the government consider it a murder? Did they consider it conspiracy? Are they charging me? Is there enough evidence? Is there proof? Is there a rat to say, is there a body? There's a lot of things contingent on that. But I do talk about openly so the kids understand that I'm real, not these guys. Don't follow this life. So I talk by name of people I've shot, and whether some of them I was charged with or not is another thing.
John, wasn't it hard? Because what we've also seen, of course, in movies, and that I've seen all your interviews also where you talk about it. You have a good friend, and suddenly you get like an order from above, said, you're going to whack this guy. And you love him. It's like one of your best friends, but if in all the movies it's like normal, one day you could be best friends, and that day one of them gets sent out to kill you.
Yeah, well, that's the difference. Most of those guys will do that. They will kill you. They'll set you up. They're cowards. I won't do it, and I didn't do it. And I warned my guys, and I did risk my life by not doing it. And, they asked me to kill and shoot, originally kill and then later on shoot Curtis Lewa, he's known as a guardian angel. He was a radio host, bad-mouthing Gotti. I refused to do it.
Does he live today?
Yeah, he's alive. Okay. I'm friends with him. I've done his radio shows. I've talked with him. And I joke with him on his show, and I said, if you're lucky I didn't take that order, or you'd be dead.
That's a good one.
He could be happy to have that talk show today.
Originally, they accused me of it. They put me in a paper when he got shot, and they said it was me. I was in Florida, had nothing to do with me. But he knows that, and I respect him. He's a tough guy, honestly. He fought his way out. He should have never got out of that. They had him trapped in a taxi, and they had the doors and the handles taken off, so he couldn't get out. And he kicked the window in and got out through the window. And he's a tough guy. Guys, he did the show. I did a Netflix series called Fear City, the Mafia against New York. He's one of the guys in it. Guys can say what they want about the guy. Listen, I just keep it real about everybody. The guy's a tough guy. Yeah.
End of story.
You want to like him, you don't have to like him. I like him. Yeah. And, that he protects the streets, and then people could say he's full of shit. Well, I don't think so. I think he's real, and he's proved it.
What about, the Mafia also used a guy called Iceman?
Iceman's full of shit.
Iceman's full of shit, okay.
Yeah, he's just a guy that's telling stories. He
might be they made a movie about him.
I don't know what he really did, who he really killed, not killed. He's a little.
I just heard that he was like the #1 hitman for the Mafia for many years or something like that.
He's a famous figure, but
I think he's a little mentally off, and I know he's killed some people, but it wasn't for the mob. That's a lie.
So he exaggerated it a lot.
Yeah, that's a lie. That's a lie.
And John, I don't know if this is too sensitive to ask, but how old were you when you made your first hit?
The first time actually, and I've said this before, I stayed with a lot of dangerous guys growing up. I was pretty easygoing compared to my friends. My friends were more killers and naturally dangerous, and I grew into it as I got older. And I think the first guy I killed was, I think I was about 19. I got stabbed up myself, and then later on I baseball batted him, a guy.
To death?
I baseball batted 3, yeah. One of them.
Because he stabbed you with a knife? So
no,
it's like, okay.
No, this is over one of my other friends who was a regular guy, but he was probably the first guy I killed.
So it was kind of retaliation?
Retaliation. I went on a hit with Jamaicans. They did a robbery of one of Gotti's kids' friends, and later on who we killed because he got convicted of a rape. Actually, I did that interview in Denmark on Crime Watch.
Oh, in Denmark, okay.
And the woman journalist screwed me over a bit because I said during the interview, I didn't mind killing the guy, and if I could wake him up, I'd kill him again. But she left out the part that he was convicted of gang raping the girl and beating her half to death.
That's typical.
So, you know...
It made you look bad.
It made me look like I'm just an animal killing, but in actuality, we all have sisters, mothers, wives, and you know, girlfriends that, you know, they gang raped her, they beat her half to death, they shot her boyfriend, they shot one of my friends. I was in California. When I came back, they told me about it. I says, okay, so let's go get him. We'll kill him. So, you know, she didn't put that part in there.
That was a very important part, actually, to that story.
Well, because I said, when they asked me, I says, you know, you're talking about killing women, and Gotti's uncle, Vinny Gotti, killed a girl. I'm friends with the brother. I'm friends with the daughter. And they try to spin that story also. And I said, I'm the guy that kills these women. I'm not the guy that kills a woman. There's a big difference. And, you know, again, I should have killed Gotti's brother, Vinny. I should have killed him when I found out that he killed this girl. He wrapped her up in a carpet and threw her in a garbage can.
Did Gotti's brother do that?
Yeah. The father, I'm talking about.
Senior, yeah.
But the senior didn't really like the brother either. He broke his neck earlier in life. And he's another guy. He's another coward, big mouth. In jail, they took his chain off his neck. He didn't get it back. So, you know, they'll tell you the character of the guy.
So I understand and I get that you grew up in an environment full of violence. So you were kind of rough and kind of used to it and probably not that sensitive. But still, I want to ask, when you finally killed someone, how was that for you emotional? I mean, it's still a next step. It's still a bigger step of violence, right? It's still another level of violence, and for sure, the environment was really, really violent. But still, how was that for you emotionally?
You know, emotionally, you know, I'm very open. I talk about things. I've been in therapy 30 years, and you block it out. I mean, I got friends that were war heroes that kill and have PTSD. I got some PTSD. I don't sleep well, but on an external. Mentally, externally, I don't feel anything, honestly. Subconsciously, I know it bothers me. I'm not happy with what I did. I can't take it back. You know, I regret it. I wish, and I try to tell kids, don't do it. Don't bite into that violence, because every time you kill somebody, you're just killing yourself. You're losing part of your soul. So, you know, I talk about God a lot now.
That would be my next question.
And, you know, listen, I can't regret my whole life, and that's part of it. The good and the bad, and you just got to live with it and deal with it.
But at that moment, like right after that scenario, or the days or weeks after, did you experience any changes in you, changes in your feeling, changes in your sleep or dreams or something?
No, you know, funny thing is about power is in the moment, power is abusive. And, you know, I talk about all governments. You know, regular people are regular people. They have no agendas but to be happy and live life. Governments seem to abuse their power. And it's the same thing when you're in the street. When you have that control in your hand and you have that power, I try to be, you know, even-keeled and not abusive and not over. But at the same time, you know, you're living in a street where if you're not very dangerous, you'll end up like all my friends. They're all dead. I mean, 90% of them are dead. So, and I'm not talking about one or two guys. I list 50 and 60 guys when I talk about that are dead, cousins, and you know. So it's not a world that you want to teach. I wouldn't want my kids doing it. I have a son in jail. He gets home next year for a shooting. My other sons all do well. It's not something I would want to teach my kids to do. So I wouldn't want to convince other kids to be gangsters or on the street. I'd convince them that they're doing something right.
It's a dangerous life.
It's a terrible life. Emotionally, it's a terrible life.
Like you said before, you can end up getting killed in a very young age, or you can end up lifetime in prison.
Those two choices, right?
Yes. Well, the physical is easy. We can all deal with physical, right? You're going to adjust. Even the way we adjusted to Brazil, and you're going to adjust. It's the emotional that is the hard part to adjust. To know, like, you got to sit back at this age and know I hurt a lot of people, I killed a lot of people, I shot a lot of people. And how do you make amends for that? I guess, you know, God. I'm very religious now. I never was. I have faith. I shouldn't say religious, but faithful. And I pray a lot. I lost my daughter this year. Everybody knows. I talk about it.
Our condolences.
Condolences about that, John.
And I do a lot of work against fentanyl that's killing kids. And
it's a crisis, right?
Yeah.
Fentanyl.
I have a doctor friend of mine who's also Albanian, Genti Truskesi, and he helps me with the with some of these shows that we do because he talks on medical terms. I talk about street terms. And, you know, you try to, listen, you don't got to be school educated to be successful. You could do a lot of things in life and be successful. So I try to, you know, push these kids to do the right thing. So hopefully that message comes across for the kids that are out there doing the wrong thing. I still embrace them and try to help them. You know, when they contact me, I just try to convince them, listen, don't buy into the bullshit. Yeah. You know, it's not what everybody thinks.
I think that's a very great thing to do. Yeah, of course, John, because you've been living the life. You know, you've been living the whole on that level. So you're the right guy to tell that story. You
know, somebody's got to say something that's honest, right? Because when you're in the street, when I was younger, you get manipulated into, and I don't blame anybody. I blame myself. So let me say that. I'm not one of those guys that poor me. Not poor me because I grew up in a poor situation. Not poor me because of my family situation. It's just that you get manipulated into believing in this. So when you got guys like Sammy, who I really have disdain for, you know, I shouldn't say I don't hate him, I have disdain for him, because really he's a coward. He doesn't tell the truth. He doesn't try to help kids. He doesn't say that he was home sleeping while guys like me were doing the work. He tries to brag about it because he doesn't have anything outside this. He's not able to do what I do and travel around the world.
But I don't understand this. He's free, because I know he came out after he did he was finished. He did the deal with the government, and then he came out very shortly, as he did long, and then he came out, and then he was taken in a big ecstasy case, no?
Yeah.
A big drug case, and then they still let him go again. It's unbelievable.
Well, suspicious.
It was a very big ecstasy
things like
case.
that are always suspicious.
Well, you got to ask yourself, why don't these guys travel anywhere? You know why they don't? They're cowards. They won't leave anywhere. They won't travel outside the country because they figure if they come outside the country, people will kill them. Right, because they screwed over so many people.
Or if they run around New York like you.
Yeah, but we say, like, if you know, we use the terminology dirty belly, right? So you got a dirty belly because you know that what you guys are doing. You know that you're full of shit. None of them will sit with me and say, okay, tell us what happened in the story. Who betrayed who? I didn't betray anybody. Just like I said, anybody could get a lawyer and see. I never got caught.
Of course, they will not sit with you because they know that you're right. Yeah. You can shoot right through them. Yeah. You know. So, John, we talked about this earlier because, you know, I've also been fighting my whole life. You've been boxing also your whole life, and you were very good at it. And of course, New York has a big history of boxing, and like some of the biggest names, like Mike Tyson. There's so many come from that city. Can you tell a little about that? How when you started boxing and some big names that you met, you know, because I know we have a lot of listeners who fight.
Right.
Yeah, for sure we do.
Yeah, this is of course a very, very exciting theme, I think. So,
you know, we all grew up, and Anthony Albert Ruggiano again was the boss's son at the time, and we all fought at Lost Battalion Hall. So
Lost Battalion Hall was like a boxing club?
Yeah, it was up on Queens Boulevard by a shopping center, Alexander's. It was, and upstairs was basketball, downstairs was the gym, and then they had some weightlifters down there, power lifters, in that same gym. And we'd all go there. It would be him, it would be a guy, Jimmy McGovern, was a very tough Irish fighter. For the people,
the Irish had many good fighters.
Oh yeah, I'm doing an interview in
tough
Ireland
guys.
Again. I do a lot with Ireland and Liverpool because of the boxing world. They've done some magazines with me and different things, so we talk about the boxing world. But those guys were there. David Sears, who fought Michael Spinks back in those days. He was
Spinks was also high. Who won that fight?
Oh, he knocked David Sears out very early. Yeah. Burt Young from Rocky was his. Listen, David was a great fighter. His brother was tough, but he was going into a ring with one of the greatest fighters ever too soon. And, you know, it was bad.
He was not ready.
Not ready. It was bad management. If they would have brought him up slower, at that time it was a $50,000 payday, ended his career. But David was a tough guy and a gentleman. He was there. Jerry Cooney, I did radio shows with. Everybody knows Jerry Cooney, and I've done some shows with him on his station because we know each other since kids. Great fighter, you know, just...
I hope to see you on the Hot Boxings podcast. Yeah. You would fit perfectly there with Mike.
Yeah.
Because you almost come from the same part of the city, no?
Yeah, we come from the same part. I got a very good friend I talk about all the time, and he's traveling, I'm traveling. Fat Man Scoop, a DJ that knows us all, and I always try to throw him a shout out because I go to Brownsville a lot. and it's mostly a black area.
Have you ever met Tyson?
And I do talk. I met Tyson before. My friend Bobby Ches, a 3-time champ, he's always with me.
Yeah.
He actually testified for Tyson when he had his problems, which I think he was railroaded. Tyson was.
Okay.
Tyson also like myself, lost a daughter and it suffered a lot through the same. So I have a lot of respect for Mike. Some of the things he went through. Prince Bobby is a good friend of mine.
He's had a very hard life, Mike.
I had a pro training camp in Jersey. We used to go to the firehouse and fight with Bernard Hopkins, Prince, and Denny Brown, a trainer. So, yeah, I've been around the game for a long time. I knew Larry Holmes, and I was at the 20th anniversary with him, with Antifermo.
Larry Holmes, he was a great fighter.
Yeah, great. Joe Frazier, I knew. I used to go to the casinos with him down in Atlantic City. So, I knew all these guys. And, you know, it was, listen, we all rubbed elbows together.
And do you still train? You look, but I mean, do you still train boxing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I joke around. I put some videos up here and there. You know.
Shadow boxing also.
Yeah, shadow box. I jump rope. I still, run a little bit. I try to. My sons all think I'm a lunatic, so
but you look good. Like I told you before, when I come in your age and I look so stable like that, I would be very happy.
Well, 45 is not that old, so I just. For everybody knows, I believe in the woke generation, so I might be 42 next week. So I just want to let you know.
We can identify as anything we want nowadays.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm a cat today.
I'm going to identify as 42.
Yeah.
And
then we change the pronouns.
Yeah.
So I think we all agree on we could sit and talk for hours.
Yeah, I think after this we will.
Yeah.
I want to point on one more topic because I know many people are really interested in it because it was really scandalous in the news. There was a guy called Jeffrey Epstein. This guy is dead now. He was accused of many crimes. I saw you already stated in an interview that you were in the same jail as this guy, Jeffrey Epstein. And there are some rumors and some conspiracies about the reason for his death. What do you think about this topic? Do you have any opinion about it? Are you into the topic?
So for the people that are watching this, this will be on my channel. I have a podcast. It'll be on my channel. And I think it's about 1,100,000 views on that last podcast I did about Jeffrey Epstein. My Instagram is my name. So for the people who want to follow, but I'll tell you this, I was in the same prison as Jeffrey Epstein. He was definitely murdered. He was not. It was not suicide. We were on those same floors. There are floors that are terrorist watch floors. There are lockdown units that we were all in. Were for high-profile inmates like myself, him, terrorists that were on the floor. They're cameraed up, and there's 6 to 8 counts in the jail. I don't remember offhand, but I think it's 8, but I could be wrong. It could be 6. But during the middle of the night, they come in and they count. So when the first thing that the DOJ was Barr at the time, Department of Justice. He was the boss. Now, for the people that don't know, Barr's father is the one that originally hired Epstein. First, for the ones that say there's conspiracy theories. Second, DOJ said he was going to investigate it. He said he looked at the tape and nobody ever went into the tier. That's impossible. There's 2 counts. So there's no way those guards could be sleeping during the counts because there's 3 different camera views from downstairs that show the whole jail. And if one of those cameras go down in one of our cells, the light goes off, they change the cell, especially for somebody like him. He's the #1 highest priority inmate. But for 2 guards to say they fell asleep is impossible because control calls from downstairs, upstairs, and asks, how come you didn't do the count yet? So there's no way 2 guys are sleeping. They got to wake up. They got to walk in and do the count. After they get the count, if the count's not done, they lock down the jail. They put it on lockdown. They're worried about a suicide situation, a murder situation, a hostage situation. So that nobody can move through the jail. That didn't occur. And for him, the DOJ to blatantly lie and say that nobody came in the tier shows how ignorant, naive, and arrogant he is to say because it's impossible. And then to go through a second count and the same thing happen again and say guys are sleeping, it's not possible. It's a complete lie because they call, and if nobody answers that phone, they send the unit up. We call different names for them. It doesn't matter. Turtle Squad, and they come black jacket up. They come with vests and sticks, and they come in to see what's going on. And then from there, they hit the deuces, and SWAT will come and different things. None of that happened. And I walk through, for the people that want to watch it, just go onto my YouTube or on my channels, and you'll see. and I walked through an hour of a little more of this. I gave the fast version of it. And I just did something on his girlfriend there.
What is your channel named on YouTube?
The Artist Couple, but if they plug my name in, John,
John comes.
it'll come up.
Like your Instagram, it's also just your name.
But we'll attach this to that, and so people can follow us back and forth. And I'll send people from the States to you that will be interesting. And obviously we're friends. We'll all collaborate together, and it'll be nice for everybody to see. And get
Perfect. Thank you, John. So, thank you for participating, John.
Thank
you.
I
said we could sit here. I have so many more questions, but we always keep it like for an hour. It was very, very interesting.
Thank you. I'd like to say one thing. I got Life magazine. My friend, we're doing something with them in September, so people can check
that one
it
is coming up.
Check it out. Yeah, and I'll
That's
be
a
here
big magazine, Life magazine.
Yeah.
Wow.
What else is coming up, John?
I'm doing another TV series that we're working on. We're ready to sign. I have a business deal and an opportunity with perfume with one of our friends from Germany, and that'll be happening real soon.
I also want to give a big thank you to our friend Capo.
Thank you,
Big
Capo.
thank you, Capo, because it's because of Capo we're all sitting here. It's because of him we have learned each other to know. And like I told earlier, it's very rare in these days that people do something not expecting or getting
something back.
Yeah, to get something back. I've known Capo for many years, and he's always been like that. He has my deepest respect. He's a very good friend of mine. Thank you so much, Capo, for everything.
Capo, thank you. And really thank everybody in Germany, Albanians, the Kurds, my Iranian friends, everybody. I got to tell you, everybody's been great since I've been in Germany. So I know everybody's
good to hear.
Thank you.
Good to hear. Yes. And I also want to point out a big thank you to our cameraman, Stefan Zimmer.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Is Stefan is he single at the moment?
I think you have to send him a DM on Instagram and ask yourself. For privacy reasons.
Privacy reasons, yeah. So, fun aside, John, it was a great hour.
Thank you so much, John Alite. Thank you so much for your insights in your really interesting life. It was amazing.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks.